all teams campaign in the Asian Games, which you'd remember happened thanks in no small part to a massive fan campaign online, has not gotten off to the best of starts. In fact, everyone knew that China would be probably the toughest test in the group stage, but a
Turned out to be.
5-1 loss.
Turned out to be so.
5-1 loss.
And Shane, it takes me back to what the coach said ahead of the match, that this is going to be a problem. Of course, you're looking at China, and that's your biggest competitor in the group that India find themselves in these Asian Games. The fact that the under-23s don't play that often,
Yeah.
that's a big problem that he's cited. And clearly, you could see the lack of cohesion. There were a lot of misplaced passes today, and it was like they say, a tale of two halves. Because for a team that were competing or were on level
Terms, 1-1.
were at the halfway stage, for them to concede 4 goals in the second half, there's going to be a lot of question marks there, and a lot of work that will have to be done going forward as well. Because truth be told, the Indians were sloppy when the ball came their way, and that's what cost them.
Yeah, and it shows that they genuinely did not, in fact, have any kind of time on the playing on the practice ground whatsoever. And not just that, even like you have to remember. And I was checking out the formations, but India were playing a 3-man defense, which, by the way, contrary to popular belief, does not increase your defensive solidity. Having 3 centre backs actually means your coordination has to includes one more person.
Exactly.
Rather
You
than
get that one extra person in the midfield then. But especially with that second goal, we lost the ball in
a crucial area.
In a crucial area
As
in
always.
the midfield, and that's where you conceded the second goal. And you'd be disappointed, of course. And many of you commenting also right now, there was a woeful performance. As Indian fans, perhaps there is reason for you to be disappointed, because, like we said earlier, you were level on terms at the halfway stage.
And that's a very good goal, I may add.
Absolutely, we'll come to that goal, but then even till about the 75th or the 72nd minute mark, you thought that things could change, you could make it 2-2, but then you conceded 3 goals in the last 15 minutes.
And the problem with, in fact, a loss like this, you have to remember the Asian Games format is such, you have 23 teams and 16 will make it through to the next round, which means you could actually finish outside of the top two and still make it through. The problem is right now, this loss has severely impacted India's goal difference. It's at -4 right now, which means they'll need not just 2 wins against Bangladesh and Myanmar or the other 2 teams, they'll need big wins. And
Also-
can they get it?
Also, the other thing, and of course that is something we'll only have to wait and see how it pans out, but I can tell you that there were a lot of people who are not happy with the scheduling as far as India are concerned, because India, of course, the match is just completed, but they play the next game in 48 hours time, and that's going to be the game against Bangladesh.
And there's no recovery. That's even less time, at best maybe a day or 2 to actually get on the training ground. And I'm sure Sahil, we just answered your question. 2 days from now, it's not giving you much time, and I hope that Steamatch reverts to a more traditional format, because the 3-man defense only ended up putting in more chaos and actually put a lot of pressure on the goalkeeper Gurmeet. He was under a lot of pressure, and to be fair, I think it was a very good performance from him. He saved India's hide on a number of occasions.
Let's not forget, he saved a crucial penalty,
which he himself gave away.
But again, kudos to him for putting in a good work in the penalty box.
Yeah, it was a good save.
Very good save. Easily could have been 6-1. Easily could have been 6-1. But what's more worrying from an Indian perspective over here is that going forward, you cannot afford to be so porous, and you can't afford to be so careless.
Exactly.
I think you were far more careless on the day than, of course, tactically, where you felt that. And by the way, this is some food for thought for the coach as well, I would say, because the coach said there wasn't any training, by the way, that happened yesterday.
Correct.
He said on the eve, we're only looking at recovery, and you're only looking at just enhancing, just talking within the group as far as tactics are concerned. Clearly today there was a massive shortfall as far as the tactics are also concerned. And
China looked far more well-drilled, which is no surprise.
And like Shane said, perhaps starting with a back 3 wasn't the wisest thing to do for Igor's team match, especially up against an opponent that you haven't managed to win a game against ever. You've played China 15 times, 7 have been draws, 8 have been wins to China. So you're still looking for a maiden win against China. That's still not happened, and will not happen, let's say, for another week or so, 10 days, perhaps only if you end up playing China at some
In the knockouts, yeah.
in some later stage in the knockout, chances which look bleak at the moment. But India will really have to turn it around and look at 2 wins, especially if you want to finish in the top two. If not, then as
At least the top three.
At least the top three, because the best two from all the 5 groups do get a spot. But then if you finish third, there are, I think, what, 4 teams that will, or 6 teams,
Six
teams, and but out of those six, of all those, only the best placed 6 teams who finish third will then progress into the knockout stage, or the round of 16.
Yeah, the round of 16. So actually, in a sense, and as Siddharth points out, Bangladesh is not going to be easy. I disagree. You have to remember this is under 23 levels. India do more often than not have the wood over Bangladesh at senior level, and this is in fact junior level. So you can imagine that if India looked ragged today, trust me when I say Myanmar and Bangladesh are not going to find it much easier against this China team. That being said, all India really need to do, even if you get 2 close wins, 6 points, you could actually be well enough positioned, even if you somehow end up finishing third, which I doubt. Actually, if you get 2 wins from here, you're getting to
getting to second place.
any which way, which means you're automatically guaranteed. And I remember there were people asking me even on social media that is a medal realistic. I don't think it is. Truth be told, I think the best you can do with this squad, the ragtag bunch that have in fact gone, because you'd remember that, and I've done a lot of coverage on this on the channel, is that you've had multiple team changes. The first team that was named, which Harshit and I had broken on Sports Today, entirely different team has gone.
From the one exactly that's
So
gone.
it's a very different squad. Not only do you not have your 3 senior bros, you only have 2 in Chetri and Jinga. Your core team also is pretty much different, because the under 23s that were going before were players who were regulars at their ISL clubs, guys who were knocking there and thereabouts at being national team regulars.
And trust me, I can say that as a Manchester United fan, when there is things organizationally which aren't going well, it does impact on the team. It's easy to say that, you got to win those battles on the field, but remember, there's been a lot of tug and war, lots of, words exchanged between the ISL clubs, between Egos team match. There's been a lot of to and fro, as we pointed out as well. And clearly, you could see those off-field issues as well reflect, not just in the tactical flaws of the coach, but also as a team. You could see that this wasn't a well-oiled machine. This wasn't a unit that had trained together clearly, that had played together a lot. And you could see it very clearly in those misplaced passes, which, if you ask me, Shane, were the highlight of this Indian team performance.
Unfortunately, like if you're looking at the bad highlight, then that definitely comes up there, because more often than not, there was no tempo. And by the way, if you were watching even India during the Kings Cup, you'd realize that even though they ended up losing out on a couple of occasions, generally speaking, you could see something there that they were, building. The patterns of play were good. The coordination was there. Players were on the same wavelength. Today, you saw none of that. There's players making overlapping runs ignored.
Dex, I sort of disagree with the comment that you just put in, because I'll tell you what, because there was this, these about 6 minutes in the second half as well, where the Indian team did consolidate as far as some possession is concerned, but again, they were sloppy with the ball, and that's where again the Chinese were far better off as far as being creative and making better use of the ball is concerned. So the Indians going forward in the 2 games that are remaining in the group stage will have to be much better when they're on the ball, and that's one of the things that possibly will define whether they make it to the knockout stage or not.
Absolutely, because again, remember, you're playing against Bangladesh, Myanmar, respectfully not the strongest of opposition. Even 2 ugly wins is enough to take you through to the knockouts. And for me, as I said, medal hopes, I don't think you're looking at a medal. At best, I think even if you would end up making it to the quarters, would be an accomplishment. Siddharth, to answer your question, reason behind the fatigue, they've just traveled. Literally just traveled, and they've had no training because they were more focused on recovery. And truth be told, I get it. Why? Because if you know, there was also reports that the layover that the players had was about an 11-hour flight.
Yes.
11-hour layoff. If I tell you that you have to sit in a plane for 11 hours, you'll be going crazy. But 11-hour layover, they couldn't get into a hotel, and they were actually sleeping in the airplane lobby. Such state of affairs, really. Such state of affairs. You should not be preparing like that, but that's how they were preparing.
And on top of that, if that gives you, any sort of hope, clearly it doesn't motivate me a lot.
It doesn't.
because India are now playing inside 48 hours. You can only imagine how difficult it's going to be for the players. Having said that, these are some professional battles that you're faced with at times, and there's only so much that you can do, and that's exactly what this Indian team would probably want to do. That is, brush this aside, probably find a way or two in terms of coping up with this fatigue, because this is, by the way, don't let's not forget that there was an exception made for this Indian team. Earlier, you weren't looking at sending in the Indian team for the Asian Games, but now that you have these players, the coach would want to send across a message, prove a point. They've only got 2 games left to be able to make some sort of a mark.
Absolutely. I think 2 games now, 2 very crucial games. Get ugly wins and you're sorted. You're at least through to the knockouts. You can say that, look, despite whatever chaos was there, at the very least, we made it out of the group stages. Anything beyond that, I think, would be a bonus.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I think we've tried taking most of your comments as well. Some of you asking what our plans as far as the coverage is concerned. As always, we in our endeavor to update you with everything concerning Indian sport, will continue to do so as far as the Asian Games are also concerned. Do download the app as well. You're gonna get lots of highlights over there. Match footage too. Check out some of the articles as well on the AajTak website. Tap that bell icon on the Sports Today YouTube channel so that you know every time we go live. And as has been the case live, this whole year, and with the recently concluded Asia Cup, we'll try giving you inside details, inside scoops. Our fellow colleague Nitin will be there very soon, so you'll get exclusive reports and interviews from the ground.
From ground zero.
Yeah.
Right now, though, from Harshit and me, bye bye.